Blizzard are big on their philosophies.
Philosophy.
Philosophically.
Philosophy in and of itself is pretty basic. Its literal meaning is the love of wisdom, to ask questions, seek answers, and find understanding. Everyone is a bit of a philosopher here and there. Find something you're interested enough in, and chances are you're attempting to find wisdom within that interest. Yet shift from philosophy to having a philosophy, and all of a sudden the word seems to take on a far more grandiose meaning. When Blizzard announces their philosophies, they are essentially announcing that they have been pondering. They've asked the questions, found the answers, climbed the mountains, and now stand atop the peak of understanding. But just because you got the answer of the test doesn't mean you'll pass. After all, one's philosophy on anything is simply a guide of approach. It isn't the approach in and of itself. You've got your answers, but do you have a pen to write them down with? You need more than just philosophies. You need a method of implementation. You need a methodology for your philosophy. A system of methods used to execute your approach. A pen to write your answers with. The methodology will often reflect one's true philosophy better than the announcement of one's philosophy ever could. Actions speak louder than words, kind of thing. In regards to Blizzard, this means that regardless of their newfound philosophies, the success of Dragonflight will ultimately come down to how those philosophies are implemented. Say, for example, dragonflying. Yes, this is clearly a rip from Guild Wars 2, but you know how it is. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Not to mention that even if Blizzard literally copy and pasted the system in such a way that it felt the exact same as Guild Wars 2, it would not necessarily garner success. When Guild Wars 2 introduced mounts, they did so with the intention of it being an extension of their world design. Their philosophy wasn't just, players like mounts, let's do mounts. It was about exploration. Their philosophy of exploration was then presented with a methodology to match with the introduction of not just a traversal system, but also the implementation of new zone design that then works in harmony to facilitate a player's engagement with the world through that fundamental philosophy of exploration. As far as Blizzard's philosophy around flying, previously they seemed to want to burn anything to do with it. Flying has simply been the fastest way to get from point A to point B. Now this of course is one of the many byproducts of Blizzard's insistence on forcing players to experience content a certain way. 18 years in, and it's only now they're really looking at it with a revised philosophy. After all, no expansion has offered flying from the beginning, nor has it prioritized vertical design to encourage it specifically. The real question isn't whether Blizzard copied Guild Wars 2. They definitely did. It's whether or not Blizzard have copied their philosophies, and if they are able to anchor that philosophy through a methodology that matches. The art team kills it with visuals of a zone, but the actual fundamental layouts of those zones are hardly innovative. This means dive bombs and barrel rolls won't mean much if they do not understand that their new feature isn't just how to train your dragon, WoW edition, it's how level design will be inherently connected to these new dragon mechanics, and if that connection is being understood. So far Blizzard have offered rather lackluster insight into the new zones. Sure, they spoke of grandiose land masses, of treasure hunting and exploration amongst the living ecosystem as if they do understand that this is a two-part feature, but simultaneously, they only showed repeated footage of the dragon flying around rather inconsequential greenery. Too early in development, perhaps, or maybe they just don't want to blow their load early. Or maybe, Blizzard's philosophy of design towards this new feature was one inspired by, but not understood. Without substantial level design, all they will have is some new physics and some win streaks. A nice addition, but potentially not the end-all be-all of a system that Blizzard may be hoping it to be. The decision to bar players from accessing Dragonflying outside of the Dragon Isles is a massive indication that Blizzard may still be battling their old demons. This doesn't remove the potential fun the mechanics may offer, but it does reflect the underlying concern with the way Blizzard implement their philosophies. The methodology doesn't match. They speak of player freedoms, choice, longevity with their new systems, yet simultaneously they have implemented a new, potentially fun and engaging mechanic and are already setting it up to be tied down to an arbitrary limitation. What would the reason be? Does accessing the old world with a new dive bomb and barrel roll lessen its impact? Is this simply a way to carrot bait players into participating with the systems rather than having faith that the fun of the mechanic will be enough? I would think that the ability to take a new feature out into the wider world of Azeroth is in and of itself a reflection of their revised philosophies. For players to have choice in how and where they use this new feature. Of course, what about the store mounts? After all, if the store mounts can't barrel roll, will they lose profitability? Or maybe there is a fear of invalidating old mounts, having the player base complain that not every mount can do a barrel roll or a dive bomb. This, though, is something they could surely approach. Surely, once they've implemented one barrel roll, they can implement more. Or are we seeing yet another roadblock within Blizzard's innovations caused by the aging, mangled mess of a game engine rearing its ugly head again? Or do they truly intend to, yet again, pour resources into something they plan to make obsolete in the coming years? A complete contradiction to their stated philosophies. Then again, it could simply be the fact that Blizzard have orientated their game around the dictation of a player's experience for so long that at this point they don't even recognize the contradictions within their methodology. Now maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Maybe they do indeed understand that traversal within the game is a two-part equation, and they will facilitate that adequately. But really, the methodology of enforcing where and when you can fly reflects a baseline, deeply rooted philosophy of Blizzard that they will similarly fight tooth and nail for, to present a game that must be played their way. Talent trees, races, classes, flying, dragon on dragon, no matter the offering. If in fact Blizzard seek to uphold their incredulous ideas of play their way, no matter what they state to be their philosophy of approach or their methodology of action, their final implementations will be rife with their real and baseline intentions. They have presented us a toy to play with. Of course, MMOs are inherently linked to progression, which is often formulated around grinding, and a little friction between player and game can be incredibly rewarding. So the initial limitation of Dragonflight can be understood, but the inherent idea around it to be an expansion feature, to limit its use when it's so clearly meant to be intended for fun and adventure, strikes me as a sign to be cautious. After all, if their old philosophies can be seen popping their heads up when it involves a mechanic of fun, what are the chances we see it reveal itself amongst the other, more power-driven systems? But it is early days. A lot can change between now and release, and with the lack of pre-orders, it's clear Blizzard want to line up all their ducks before taking the shot. So hopefully, in time, my concerns in this video will be made mute, that Blizzard have indeed fundamentally reorientated themselves to produce a game that is far more player-friendly, fun, and freeing, a game that inherently reflects their new philosophies. If you're still watching, then cheers for the view. I'm Trash Basket, and this was a trash video.